There is a new podcast out interviewing Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. Mike McDaniel's part is really interesting. Jesse found it for me. I shall play it for you right now. Here it is. Wait a second.
Fangio is his defensive.
Here it is.
McDaniel also just hired Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator. Fangio, of course, was the white whale for so many of McDaniel's former coworkers.
That's one of the reasons I'm so excited and went the direction I went with our defensive coordinator, because I think there's a ton of ability to grow within. And if you are paired with the right system and teacher, that you can really get a lot out of it. I think having an ego is pretty dumb. One that operates in a land of insecurity, that ego, whatever that is pretty dumb, and I refuse to have that be a part of my being. So I think it's a special situation for us where I can really take advantage of Vic, where some people either wouldn't hire him because of the threat to whatever that shit is, or out of insecurity try to show them how much they knew all the time. Both of those things that I think are dumb, and I'm not trying to be dumb.
Who is he talking about, Jesse?
Hold on. Can we also just acknowledge that Mike McDaniel sounds 3 bong rips deep every time he speaks?
Yeah, he sounds like he's on cough syrup. What was it? Hey, man, I don't know.
He's on lean.
Why was he so turned down like that? He was like chopped and screwed. Yeah, man. Anyway, he was chopped and screwed. Anyway, that was wild. How many times did he just insinuate that Kyle Shanahan was dumb
and has an ego?
Because for the people who don't know, the Niners were in play for Vic Fangio. A lot of people thought they would get Vic Fangio, but if you want Vic Fangio, you got to make some concessions. You got to run a 3-4. You got to run the base defense that he wants. That's a deal breaker for the 49ers because Kyle Shanahan decided that he wants to run wide 9. So he was not willing to make that concession. Steve Wilks is going to run a wide 9. Fine. But Vic Fangio is like the best, and he's going to do it the way he wants to do it. Also, the other thing was worse that McDaniel said. Feeling inferior intellectually to someone that you can't feel. That's bad. That's bad. And I've always wondered, how come you always have these like up-and-comers on your staff? And they're all smart. But Vic Fangio could stand up in a meeting and say, Kyle, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Please do not install that 7-step play action pass on the first. Don't do it, man. I don't want, if I were the defensive coordinator and you were blocking Rashawn Reddick with Tyler Kroft, I would jump for joy. So, yeah, he could do that and actually challenge Kyle. And apparently, coaches like the one that Mike McDaniel was describing don't want to be challenged. It's very interesting, and he called it dumb. I have to agree. Maybe it's not Kyle. Maybe I misread Kyle all these years. Maybe he doesn't have the biggest ego ever. Maybe he doesn't. Is that possible?
Oh,
I don't know.
Man, not only did he say it's dumb, but he doesn't want to be dumb. And okay, let's operate under the assumption that he's not intentionally taking shots at Kyle, but he is indirectly, whether he wants to or not, taking shots at Kyle. I mean, he's talking about Kyle Shanahan. He is basically explaining the opposite of Kyle Shanahan. And the fact that the 49ers were in on Fangio, and a lot of rumors came out that the reason Fangio wasn't here, which I do think they hired the right coach in Wilks. I prefer Wilks at this stage of Fangio's career. However, the big reason Fangio's not here, supposedly, is because he and Kyle couldn't come to a philosophy agreement, right, which means Kyle's ego is potentially what got in the way. And Mike McDaniel says, hey, I don't have an ego. His defense
do what you want to do, Vic.
Yep.
Do what you want to do, Vic. Yeah.
His defense has
never
given
presume
our
to
offense
tell you what
fits.
to do with your freaking defense. I would never presume. I'm just happy to have you. Whereas Kyle's like, man, I got some ideas about my defense. Okay. Here's the thing. You said that you'd rather have Steve Wilks than Vic Fangio. Cool, great, cool. Who do you think the Dolphins would rather have?
Oh, Fangio, for sure.
Who do you think every team in the league would rather have?
Well, I don't know about every team in the league. I think there's
the
probably
Niners apparently would rather have Steve Wilks.
Yeah,
that's one.
No, I would love to have Fangio.
I'm sorry, Steve, but is Vic Fangio like? he is in the I mean, who's better than Vic, really? Like Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, their defenses haven't been performing as well as Vic's consistently the last 10 years. Vic's that dude. He's him.
Vic is that dude. He is that dude. Yeah, of course, he is him. I agree. I agree with all of that. I just think Wilkes being younger. Sure. I do think Wilkes also personality-wise, going from Saleh to D'Amico to Wilkes, the drop-off is not going to be, there's not much of a difference there. I understand why it makes sense for the 49ers. However, Vic Fangio, to your point, is quote-unquote him, and Mike McDaniel readily admits his defense gives our offense fits. And when he says our offense, he's not meaning the Dolphins. He's meaning the coaching tree of the Shanahans. He knows how to stop that. So guess what happens naturally through these meetings? You get better because Vic Fangio is telling you how your offense can be exploited day in and day out. Everybody gets better because of it. So
I think what McDaniel is basically trying to answer, the way that podcaster set it up was McDaniel got pulled off how did he get Vic Fangio? How did he get Vic Fangio? And I think what McDaniel's saying is like, Kyle didn't want him. Kyle could have had him. Kyle is the number one defense. Vic Fangio's worked there before. They had creative differences, and Vic Fangio fell in my lap. Thank you, Kyle, for just being yourself and never changing. Thank you so much. Because now, like, what an addition to the Dolphins. Vic Fangio, wow. Actually, you can take them seriously now as a contender. Also, another difference between Mike McDaniel and Kyle is how they treat the quarterback position. Neither one protects the guy. Let's be real clear about that. But at least Mike McDaniel pretends he likes the guy. That's nice. He pretends to be his friend, pretends that he thinks he's good. I don't know what he really thinks about him, but he says nice things. I like compliments and praise, even if it's fake. Just lie to me. Say I'm good looking. Say I'm handsome. Say I look young. Just all of it.
You know what to do, chat. That is your cue. Throw them out.
Look me in my eyes and lie to me. Act like I'll believe anything.
Let's also not forget the timeline of how everything happened, Grant. If you remember when Vic Fangio was out there to be had, it was rumored he was going to the Dolphins. Then all of a sudden, he wasn't going to the Dolphins because he had interest in the 49ers and the 49ers had interest in him. About a week later, those interviews happened. All of a sudden, he ends up back with the Dolphins. It's pretty clear, essentially, what happened and what Mike McDaniel is saying here.
Yeah. And it's just funny how a coach like Mike McDaniel, basically this coaching tree, you're listening to it in this podcast and you think, man, these guys are so tight. They love each other. They go way back. They're like brothers. Who freaking knows how they actually feel about each other privately? You know what I mean? I mean, they could hate each other. They could feel like maybe McDaniel feels like I'm so much smarter than Kyle and I'm so much better, but because I'm Mike McDaniel and he's Mike Shanahan's son, I had to wait my turn. But who knows? I mean, the best thing about what Mike McDaniel was saying is talking about coaches with egos and that he doesn't have one. Come on, Mike, I love you. I mean, yeah, I love you, man. But like, are you kidding? Like, only someone with a huge ego would actually even say something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
But
yeah, you were talking about who knows if they actually like each other. Let's not forget also that LaFleur and Shanahan were tight. Saleh was in LaFleur's wedding. And all of a sudden, the 49ers reach out about Rodgers before they draft Trey Lance. And all of a sudden, the whole situation goes awry. And they don't even shake hands after the game. They don't even look each other in the eye. These things can sour quickly.
And so McDaniel leaves and he has all this passive aggressive stuff. Like, I'm not saying it about him specifically. Also, D'Amico last year. Remember, I'll never forget when he was talking about like energy depleters. You remember that? We were in Colorado and he was talking about how certain coaches come in and just suck the energy out of a room and how you can't have people like that. It's like, oh, I know one guy like that. You just don't know how people, I mean, I feel like a lot of people appreciate Kyle. Kind of like how people work with me and appreciate me, but deep down hate me. It's like, look, I like Grant, and he's gonna help my YouTube channel out, but I really think he says some stupid stuff, and I'm not gonna keep that to myself. I feel like there's a fair amount of people like that. I get that. Me and Kyle have way too much in common. That's why I try to go easy on him sometimes. It's like I'm just knocking myself. Everything I say about it.
It's like introspective. Look at yourself in some weird way.